with an 80-yard touchdown run. That's good.
Welcome in, everybody, to the High School Sports Zone. We appreciate you joining us once again. We're going to take a look back at an exciting week 2 of the high school football season, and we're going to look forward to what's in store for week 3. Joining me, as always, is Calvin Lewis. Let's start the night off with our 3 and Out.
We had our game of the week in Westwood, who hosted Iron Mountain, beat them 34-7. In this one, did Westwood prove that they're the best team in the UP?
You know, thinking about it, we've had them twice on our game of the week. They've won both games. The 2 opponents they faced, they haven't been terrible opponents, but there's still that team down the road, the Ishpeming Hematites. Now this one, it's a coin flip for me, but I'm going to have to go with Westwood. I think Westwood, just with the strength of schedule so far, you know, Ishpeming, they played a Manistee team that wasn't able to even field the team in week 2. They then beat Lake Linden Hubble. You know, started off a little shaky in that one, but was able to gain their footing there. But I just like the grouping of Nathan Beckman, Ashton Bergman, Taylor Delangelo. I think these 2 teams in Westwood and Ishpeming, they really mirror each other. They both like to score the ball the same way. They like to run the ball heavy, and they play really solid defense. But I think when it comes down to it, Westwood is the better passing team when they have to pass the ball. So that's the little separation I see. And then, of course, you got the strength of schedule there. So I think Westwood right now, 2 weeks into the season, is the best team, but it's really, really close with Ishpeming.
We had quite a few 8-man teams that are slowly starting to break through out of the league, but who do you think is going to kind of propel themselves above and beyond?
Well, right now there's 2 teams that are 2-0 that I think are really, really good, that upper level of the 8-man league. I think that's Stevenson and Cedarville. I think these 2 teams talent-wise are just a little bit above the rest. But then you talk right down the next level, there's a lot of teams that are 1-1. We saw Rapid River and North Central face off. Ontonoggin's another team that's 1-1. So it's a really big grouping in the middle there of that 8-man league. I'm going to have to go with North Central. I mean, why not? This team beat Rapid River. You know, they showed they can run the ball. They showed they can pass the ball. I like Noah Gordzinski there. Ike Meyer is another guy that is a playmaker for that team. Now, some are going to argue, you know, Rapid River, they only lost by 6 points after turning the ball over 5 times. But you got to give it to that North Central defense for, you know, causing those turnovers and making it chaotic for that Rapid River team. I just think once this North Central team finds an image under their new head coach there in Powers, I think they're going to get things rolling. I think we're just seeing the beginning of what this North Central offense can really do. So I'm going to have to say North Central in this one.
Any bold predictions for week 3?
Now, call me crazy, because this is kind of out there, and this is a very bold prediction, but the Negaunee Miners, they welcome in the Hancock Bulldogs, who are 2-0. Jason Waterman, it's up in the air whether he's going to play. He suffered a leg injury against Calumet. Jake Larson filled in after Waterman went down. The score was 8-8. Calumet ended up winning that game 30-8, so Negaunee didn't even make it back into the end zone. With all that being said, I think Jake Larson leads the Negaunee Miners at home over the Hancock Bulldogs, handing Hancock their first loss of the season. And I think it's going to definitely be an upset there in Negaunee this Friday.
Later in the show, we'll reveal our newest rankings of the season. But first, we'll head to Ishpeming to catch up with the red-hot Hematites as they look to improve to a 3-0 on the season. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, everybody, into the High School Sports Zone. Remember, if you want to reach out to us, you can do it on our social media feeds. Local 3 Sports Zone on Facebook and at Local 3 Sports ZN on Twitter. We post all of our segments on our page after the show. Low numbers and injuries. 2 key players left Ishpeming reeling last year, but through the first 2 weeks of the season, the Hematites have proven they are once again a team that is poised for another deep playoff run. The Hematites look to be back to form after missing out on the playoffs the last 2 seasons. They had a dominating victory over Manistee in week 1, and after a slow start against Lakeland and Hubble, their strong run game got going as they ran away with yet another victory. Head coach Jeff Olson reflected on his tenure with Ishpeming. He's been a part of 4 trips to the Division 7 title game and 3 state titles as head coach.
It's been great, and it's been great for a lot of different reasons, but number one is the community, the families, the parents, and the kids. And you know, when you have parents that care, they care about their kids, they care about what they're doing now, they care about what they're going to be in the future, and you have that parental support, kids are going to buy in. And you know, I felt this from day one that, you know, we have some great parents, our community backs, you know, all our athletic programs, especially football, and you know, that's a recipe for success. You know, when you have good kids, good parents, you know, they're going to work hard for you and they're going to do things right.
The Hematites have a lot of returning talent that missed time due to injury last season. They've also added new talent eager to leave a mark on their own on the program.
1 year doesn't define us. You know, like we came back faster, stronger, and better than we were last year. And we knew what it takes to become a state championship team again. So we came out this summer, worked every single day. We just built that bond with each other, so we know what it takes to win and how to like overcome uncomfortable situations. So.
When we return, we're going to get Norway head coach Bob Madigan on the phone to talk a little Knights football. And later, we're going to get into our Player of the Year watch, find out who had the biggest games of last week coming up. Stay tuned. Welcome back into the Sports Zone. If you want to reach out to us, you can do it on our social media feeds, Local 3 Sports Zone on Facebook and at Local 3 Sports ZN on Twitter. The Norway Knights have been one of the most consistent programs in all of the UP under the leadership of Bob Madigan. They're off to a hot start in the young season, and joining us now via the Four Seasons Small Engines Hotline to talk a little Knights football is head coach Bob Madigan. Bob, thank you for joining the show.
Well, thanks for having us.
Now, Bob, your Knights, you're 2-0 on the season. Now, what has been the winning formula for your team so far this year?
I'd say we're more of a blue-collar team this year. Our offensive line has taken control of the first 2 games and made some real nice holes for our backs. We have our number 20, Mitchell LeGrave. He's really racking up some nice yards here. But first week we didn't do a lot of hitting, a lot of tackling, and that kind of showed. So we straightened that up a little bit. But you have a lot of people contributing in small ways, and it makes the whole team a lot better.
Mitchell LeGrave, he's been a playmaker for your team. He had 5 touchdowns in week 1. He also played a big role in your game last week against Munising. Can you talk a little bit about his emergence this season?
Mitchell actually started coming on about halfway through the middle of last year. He rushed for 200 yards last year in some of the games at the end of the season. And he was a pivotal player getting us to that district final. And he's a speedster. He's like, I think, second in UPs in 100-meter dash, and he's got decent size. He's 180, and he's got some speed, and he's a smart kid, a good kid. I teach him in the calc and the chemistry and the physics, so he's one of those football savvy kids. But he does have, I think he probably has close to 400 yards this season rushing so far. So he's definitely a factor. But we do understand they can gang up on him and they can shut him down. So we've got some other backs there in our backfield that can do the job too. We try to divvy it up a little bit between the backs, but Mitchell has a great start to his senior year here, and I think he rushed for 250 yards first game and maybe even close to 180, 170 the second game. So Mitchell is definitely a big factor for us right now.
Now, Friday, your Knights are going to have the toughest test yet of your young season. You go on the road against the Ishpeming Hematites. Talk a little bit about the challenges the Hematites pose and also what your team's going to have to do to come out on top against Ishpeming Friday night.
Well, you know, who has a better program than Jeff Olson and the Ishpeming Hematites? I mean, they proved how good they can be in the last, decade. That's for sure. But we've been hammering out with them the last couple of years here, and they have a very, very solid offensive line, some really good running backs. Well-coached defense, very, very disciplined, and they hit and they tackle, and they're very big, they're very physical, and we do that from the beginning. They got those right across the front of the line. They're, big, strong kids that come off the ball. You could just tell they're well-coached with their pad heights and their in their intensity and the way they play, and they'll hit, and they'll tackle, and if you don't come ready, you're going to get it. So I think we have to match up. Our defensive line has to play low and hard and fast, and we have to try to eliminate some of that size they have.
All right, Bob, good luck on Friday, and thanks for joining us on tonight's show. Go Knights. Norway, one of a handful of teams still perfect on the season, but where would the Knights find themselves on our updated team rankings? Here are our newest ranks after the second week of the season. Let's begin at the #1 spot. It's the Ishpeming Hematites. They gave up an early score against Lakeland and Hubble, but they clamped down on defense after that, and they ran the ball with purpose. The Hematites are our top team. The Westwood Patriots move up to #2 after a convincing win over Iron Mountain in our game of the week. #3, we have the Norway Knights. The Calumet Copper Kings with the impressive win at home against Nagani to move to 2-0. They're sitting at #4. And coming in at #5 this week is West Iron County. We have an honorable mention. That's going to go to the Hancock Bulldogs.
Let's head over to the 8-man league. At #1, we have Stevenson. Coming in at #2 is Cedarville. The North Central Jets able to hold off the Rapid River Rockets late in their game Friday night. They sit at #3. Rapid River showed a lot of grit in their close loss to the Jets. We have them at #4. And after a surprising blowout loss in the opening week, the Forest Park Trojans return to form with a good win against Kearney NATO. The defending champion Forest Park Trojans, they round out our top 5.
Welcome back into the Sports Zone. If you want to reach out to us, you can do it on our social media feeds, Local 3 Sports Zone on Facebook and at Local 3 Sports ZN on Twitter. Each week, we're going to highlight some of the top individual performances. Here's our Player of the Year watch list. Now remember, this will change weekly, and at the end of the season, we will compile a final list and have a round of voting to determine our Player of the Year. From the Westwood Patriots, we have senior running back Ashton Bergman. In the Patriots' 34-7 win over Iron Mountain, Bergman rushed for a total of 143 yards and 24 carries and 2 touchdowns. In a losing effort against Norway, Munising's Anthony Matson brought it on the defensive side of the ball. Listen to this. He had 16 tackles, 2 for loss, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble, 1 blocked kick, and 2 passes defended. And on offense, Matson, he just had 5 catches for 92 yards. Not a bad stat line for the Mustang.
Next up, we have Krister Carney from Escanaba. The senior running back broke through Petoskey's defensive line for a 57-yard touchdown with 1 minute and 46 seconds left in the game, trimming Eski's deficit to just 1 point. Carney, who suffered a quadricep injury on the opening kickoff, finished the night with 63 yards on 6 carries in the Eskimos' 15-14 comeback win over Petoskey. Also making tonight's list, we have Ishpeming senior quarterback Gavin Sundberg. Sundberg had himself a night this past Friday when the Hematites hosted Lakeland and Hubble. Sundberg finished the night with 203 total rushing yards and a touchdown. Also from the Westwood Patriots, we have senior quarterback Nathan Beckman. Beckman went 8 for 12 in pass attempts, throwing for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. On the ground, he rushed for 63 yards and a touchdown to help the Patriots earn a 2-0 start to their season.
Well, it's time to present our very first submission for the Show Your Spirit Challenge. This is a great way to get cheer teams, dance teams, bands, and even student sections involved, and we hope you have some fun with it as our viewers. Now, tonight's submission is courtesy of the Westwood Patriots dance team. Take a look.
On my studio, and we can let it go tonight. Girl, come with me now, you see about to start. I can believe I can see. Say, la la la, say, hey, let's go.
Definitely feeling the love by the Westwood Patriots girls dance team. Awesome job by the Westwood dance team. Up next on the Sports Zone, we're going to reveal our next game of the week and find out where we're going to be headed this Friday night. This one is going to be a good one. Stay tuned.
Well, here we are already. Week 2 is now in the history books. Just like Week 1, we were shown outstanding plays by some pretty outstanding players. You know what time it is. We picked out our top 3 plays. This is the top 3 on 3.
Number 3.
On the second play of the game, Lakeland and Hubble's Kellen Klein will take the handoff 80 yards to the house. Look at this kid go. He's got some speedy legs on him. He takes the trap play to perfection. It's not often you see a big play like this given up by the Hematites. The Lakes, they would ultimately lose this game, but impressive nonetheless.
Number 2.
Coming in at number 2, it's Iron Mountain's Charlie Gerhardt. Marcus Johnson, he'll take the snap right about here, and he already knows where he's going to put it. Gerhardt, he bobbles the pass, but soon does the rest, and he puts up 6 for the Mountaineers in dramatic fashion. Yeehaw.
Number 1.
And coming in at our number 1 spot, it's North Central's Brady Eichmeyer. Junior quarterback Noah Gorzinski, he's going to snap the ball on the play action. He drops back, looks deep, and connects with Eichmeyer. Eichmeyer hangs onto the ball, completes the process, and puts up 6 for the Jets. Let's see it one more time here. Brady jumping over the defense, and almost Calvin Johnson-esque. Congratulations, Brady. You get our number 1 play of Week 2.
Each week, we're going to end the show revealing what game will be our game of the week and where we're going to be headed for that game. So without further ado, our game of the week is...
Two undefeateds collide as Mitchell LaGrave and the Norway Knights travel to Ishpeming and look to slow down Gavin Sundberg and the potent Hematite run game. Which team will stay perfect? The Local 3 Game of the Week.
Well, that's right, Calvin. We're headed to Ishpeming to see the 2-0 Knights take on the 2-0 Ishpeming Hematites. Any predictions for this one?
I think it's going to be another home field advantage. Going to have to go with the Ishpeming Hematites.
I think so, too. I think this is going to be at least a 2-score game. I think the run game is just going to be too much for Norway. But I think Bob Madigan's going to have the Knights ready for this one. So you never know. It is football. Anything can happen.
For sure.
Well, that's all the time we have with you tonight. I hope you have a good night, and thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.